So we start the new working week on quite a showery note. Certainly across the north of Scotland, lots of showers packing in on that northerly breeze. Still a bit wintry, those showers across the highest ground in Scotland. A touch of frost, as I say, in rural spots to start the day. Mostly fine across the southern parts of Scotland. A few showers across Northern Ireland, and a few showers too pushing across Northern England, North Wales into the Midlands, with some sunshine to start the day on Monday across the far south of England. As we go through the rest of the day, it stays quite showery in the morning, quite a blustery northerly breeze too. The showers and those winds gradually ease though from the west as we go into the afternoon, and then some more persistent rain starts to approach Northern Ireland by the very end of the day. Once again, it's quite chilly for the time of year, certainly across the north and northeast of the UK. Here temperatures no better than 7 or 8 Celsius in a few spots, whereas down towards the south and southwest, nearer average at around 13 or 14 degrees. Outbreaks of rain out towards the west will push eastwards into Tuesday morning, and Tuesday looks like a very breezy day with further showers or longer spells of rain, so staying quite unsettled and again quite chilly for the time of year, with temperatures into the low teens at the very best. That's into the low to mid 50s in Fahrenheit. Low pressure is dominant for the rest of the week, so it stays pretty unsettled. Further showers or longer spells of rain to come, but at least those temperatures start to climb during the latter stages of the week.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because there literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News
News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends.
Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. What a show I've got for you tonight.
It drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, you know, people that basically are anything
What's wrong
other
with that,
than
Sarah?
white.
Yeah, I'm going to demolish the left-wing attack on Reform MP Sarah Pocham with pure facts, because I think white people are being racially profiled in misleading advertisements and campaigns. Also,
they sit in hotels and digs for months on end at the taxpayers' expense.
Well, with the social housing waiting list for some British people in councils higher than 10 years, it's sickening to hear that up to 90% of councils will house asylum seekers by the end of the year. Darren Grimes is coming on to tell us as it is. Also,
Going out, mate. Medium, Libby. Come on. Lag out. No face, no case. What's going on, my people? In all our shops, alhamdulillah. This Saturday, inshallah, if you guys need it, £5 each.
No face, no case. I wonder what he means by that. Well, Islamist sectarians march through London with some eyewitnesses claiming they were wielding bats. I have got all the bombshell clips and...
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
Well, the UK's leading royal editor, Charlotte Griffiths, is joining me to discuss whether or not Prince Andrew is going to get a new palace. And also, with rumoured secret discussions being had about some of our greatest enemies being given plots of land on the Chagos Islands, I'm bringing in a Whitehall insider to blow the lid on all of it. And...
That's outside, you get me? That's outside. That's here to entertain, you get me? I got money in the bag, take you home with me.
Yeah, honestly, what a ridiculous man. Well, there's a word called black fatigue that is being prolifically used on social media. Well, I'm bringing in a young black woman and social media sensation to join me and tell me what that word means and what she thinks about it. And on my panel this evening, businessman and activist Adam Brooks with senior reporter from Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley. Also joining us is former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. President Trump's got a new dance.
Going back to Honolulu just to get that Maui Wowie.
It's going to be a huge show, everybody, massive show. I promise you, you're just getting started this evening. Let's get your news with Aaron Armstrong first.
Thank you, Alex. Good evening to you. 9 here in the GB newsroom.
The Justice Secretary, David Lammy, says a convicted sex offender who's been arrested following his accidental release from prison on Friday will be deported this week. Hadesh Kabadu was apprehended in the Finsbury Park area of North London this morning following a two-day manhunt when members of the public alerted officers to his whereabouts. He was jailed last month for assaulting a woman and a 14-year-old girl while being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping. Mr Lammy's confirmed a member of staff at HMP Chelmsford has been suspended and says the government is addressing the issues in prisons.
We will be increasing our funding to probation. We will ensure that there are more prison places, 14,000 extra prison places over this next period. We have to continue to support our prison officers at this time, particularly against violent offenders in our prison. I will be making a full statement to Parliament tomorrow, and then of course we've got a sentencing bill going through Parliament which will also support the system and make the system stronger.
Two suspects have been arrested over the robbery of crown jewels from the Louvre Museum last Sunday. They're understood to have been two of a gang of four who broke into the Apollo Gallery and made off with jewellery valued at around £76 million. One of the two suspects was apprehended while waiting to board a flight from Charles de Gaulle Airport. A woman in Walsall has been raped in what police have called a racially aggravated attack. Officers were called to the Park Hall area of the town last night at around 7:15, saying the woman in her 20s was assaulted at a nearby property by a man she didn't know. They've released CCTV of the suspect, describing him as white, aged in his 30s with short hair and wearing dark clothing. West Midlands Police have launched an urgent public appeal to help identify the subject. MPs are planning to defy convention by debating Prince Andrew's conduct, the stripping of his dukedom and his continued residence in Royal Lodge. The Liberal Democrats have indicated they'll use their next Opposition Day debate to allow members to discuss the issues. They're also calling for the Prince and the Crown Estate to give evidence under oath in Parliament. Politicians have traditionally refrained from criticising the royal family in the House of Commons. Andrew agreed to no longer use his titles last Friday after continuing revelations concerning his links to the convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump's overseen the signing of a ceasefire deal between Thailand and Cambodia following a cross-border conflict earlier this year. The ceremony, which the US president requested, took place after he arrived in the Malaysian capital. The two countries have agreed to start demilitarising their borders after 5 days of fighting in July. Donald Trump claims that's one of the 8 wars he has ended. He received a warm welcome in Kuala Lumpur and danced with performers who greeted him as he got off Air Force One. There you go, much like his YMCA dance that you may have seen in the past. It's the first stop on a week-long trip of the region, which includes a much-anticipated meeting with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping.
The 8 wars that my administration has ended in just 8 months, there's never been anything like that. Never. There never will be either. I can't think of any president that ever solved one war. I don't think anybody. They start wars, they don't solve them. I shouldn't say it's a hobby because it's so much more serious than a hobby, but it's something that I'm good at and it's something I love to do.
Russia says it successfully tested a new nuclear-powered cruise missile with an unlimited range. Russia's top general told President Putin the Burevestnik missile travelled nearly 9,000 miles and was airborne for 15 hours during the test. Vladimir Putin, meanwhile, says a meeting with President Trump to discuss the war in Ukraine, which had been scheduled to take place in Budapest, although no time had been given, has not been cancelled, although President Trump suggests it has been. Putin says more preparation time is needed. Finally, Hurricane Melissa has been strengthened into a Category 4 hurricane that is threatened to cause havoc in parts of the Caribbean. Forecasters say it could reach Category 5. It has already hit Haiti and the Dominican Republic, killing 4 people. And residents in Jamaica are being warned of potentially catastrophic flooding and landslides when it reaches the island. That's expected late on Monday or early on Tuesday. It is expected to bring winds of up to 115 miles an hour and torrential rain of up to 25 inches. Authorities warning of a threat to life and urging residents to seek shelter immediately. You're fully up to date here on GB News. I'll be back with more at 10.
Well, white people are being racially profiled in misleading advertisements and political campaigns, and I'm going to show you all the evidence and expose the two-tier left-wing outrage over all of this. This, of course, comes as Sarah Pochin, the recently elected Reform UK MP, is currently embroiled in a racism row.
It drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, you know, people that basically are anything
What's wrong
other
with that,
than
Sarah?
white.
Well, Pochin has now apologised for her statement, saying this: "My comments on a Talk TV phone-in earlier today were phrased poorly, and I unreservedly apologise for any offence caused, which was not my intention. The point I was making that many British TV adverts have gone DEI mad and are now unrepresentative of British society as a whole. This is not an attack on any group, but an observation about balance and fairness in how our country is portrayed on screen." Well, as she then goes on to point out, a study commissioned by Channel 4 found that black people were featured in more than half of the adverts in 2022, up sharply from 37% in 2020 following the Black Lives Matter movement. Black people make up around 4% of the population in England and Wales, according to the 2021 census. So there you have it. She wasn't wrong about over-representation, was she? Well, many people are saying she shouldn't have bothered apologising, and I can see why, because the far left have been getting away with unabashed anti-white racism for over a decade now. Where was the outrage from senior Labour figures and the far left over this?
Every chief executive of every council and every government department, white. Every director of a department in Scotland, white.
That's Labour leader in Scotland, by the way, Anas Sauer. Or what about this man?
The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white.
Oh, so it's OK to angrily shout about white people being represented in workplaces, but not TV adverts? Come off it, honestly. In fact, recent TfL adverts have, in my opinion, aggressively targeted white men, showing them sexually intimidating women of minority ethnicity.
The man in the grey suit is staring at you. Would you report it? It's him again. You can feel his breath. Would you report it?
There's more where that came from, so stay tuned. Now, we don't have the ethnic breakdowns on this, as the Met Police simply refused to capture that data. But what I can tell you is that despite that advert, white women make up, on average, of over 58% of sexual assault victims in London since 2018, with black women making up 24% and Asian women making up 16%. As for the perpetrators, 37% were foreign nationals. That's according to a Met Police Service FOI, showing arrests and preceding cases broken down by nationality in what they call the sexual offences and violence against the person's Freedom of Information request. That doesn't take away from the fact that women, of course, are facing sexual violence, and I'm not trying to make this about race, but it's very important, if we're going to talk about this and throw the words racism around, that we have a balanced and fair discussion. And also, here's a social media post from the Daily Mirror that caused outrage, reading this: "Petition for women-only tube carriages amid growing issue nears 10k signatures." Do you notice anything about the picture there? Oh, and here is another one. This one is mocked up by the BBC and posted on their X account, showing a white, older man on a phone with the caption stating, "TfL is targeting the disruptive behaviour of passengers who play loud music and calls out loud." Well, as a born and bred Londoner who's probably spent years of my life on the Underground, I don't think that's an exaggeration, by the way, I personally have never once sat next to or near an old white man playing music out loud. And do you remember this campaign by the Mayor of London? An advert showing a white man harass a woman while his black friends stand aside.
What is it? What is your problem? You've not said one word. No? Come on, bro. You're not so pretty with that face on, you know. I just don't understand. What are you doing? That's enough.
What do you make of that? I've given you the data. You can make your minds up about whether these adverts are genuine representations of the issue we have in Britain, or whether places, perhaps the Mayor of London's office and some others, are trying to racially profile and be scared of being called the word racist. Well, I think the reality is, in my opinion, that white people are not just factually underrepresented in advertisements, which, frankly, I couldn't care less about. I know many of you can't either, but I couldn't care less. But they are often unfairly targeted and racially profiled, despite evidence pointing to the exact opposite of the campaigns and adverts targeting them. We have, for a very long time, been told the countryside is too white. TV programmes are too white. Everything is too white, as we've seen some of our Scottish leaders tell us. That's not racist, according to them, but every time someone else who might be white points out that there might be some over-representation, well, that's racism, isn't it? I want to get the thoughts of my brilliant panel here with me tonight. Businessman and activist Adam Brooks, senior reporter from Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Adam, I'll start with you. I'm pointing this out, right, because I think there is a two-tier outrage. I've given the data that shows, actually, white women are the victims mostly of sexual abuse on the London, across London. Foreign nationals make up 37%, a massive over-representation of perpetrators. Yet we're not seeing that being played out in advertisements, particularly political campaigns, by some of our officers that run this.
Yeah, look, I think it's OK to be racist against white people. And that has become the norm over the years. People have gone from wanting equality to wanting to put down every white person as some evil person. Now, at the end of the day, my black and Asian heritage friends are sick of this. It's patronising. They feel like it makes them like victims all the time. They just want to get on with their life. They don't want to be treated any differently. We're all the same. We've all got the same blood under our skin. But a lot of the time, these media figures, and many a time they're liberal white people, want to overcompensate. As I say, 50% of adverts have black people in them, yet they're only 5% of the population. That is a gross misrepresentation of this country and is racist to white people.
Ellie?
The thing about Sarah's Pochin's comments, they were really poorly phrased, and I think it was actually fair for her to apologise for it, because we don't want to go down that route where British politicians, etc., and people think it's OK to judge people based on the colour of their skin. Having said that, these adverts, but not just media campaigns, but adverts in general, if they're using quotas are wrong and racist, and they do not help the talented or the less talented, etc. So that's quotas are the real problem here as well as just misrepresenting British society.
Yeah, Bill, listen, I don't care what colour anyone is on a TV advert. I made that clear in my statement. What I do care about is when I see political campaigns, and I've used the Mayor of London's one there because there's two campaigns, one on TfL, one by the Mayor's office. Sadiq Khan sits above both of those officers that would have put those ads out. It does seem to me that white people are now used when they want to portray a sexual predator or a sexual assailant on the television, rather than it being perhaps a more accurate representation where there's over-representation, perhaps of foreign nationals in London. Why do we do that? Why is that? Are we scared of being called racist?
Well, I think racism against anyone, regardless of the colour of their skin, is wrong, and racism against white people is wrong. But, you know, some of the clips you showed, so Anna Sarwar's quote, he's absolutely right to point out that virtually everyone in Scottish society in any position of authority is white. And I think
how many people in Scotland are white?
95%.
No, it's
93%.
Oh, sorry, I'm 2% out.
Is overrepresented with black people compared to the rest of the country. But when you've got a whole strata of society in authority and none of them are black, I think that is a cause for concern.
But is it not racist? Because this is what it goes back to. That, in my opinion, is exactly what Sarah Pochin's pointing out. And it's OK because Anna Sarwar's doing it because he's a man of ethnic minority, and he's pointing out, oh, well, everyone around me is white in power. He's not judging them on their ability, he's judging them on their skin colour.
Right, but Anna Sarwar did not say something that essentially said, I don't want white people in these positions. He was pointing out an injustice. And I think what Sarah Pochin has said today was wrong. I think it was racist. The fact that Nigel Farage has clearly forced her to apologise. Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, described it as racist this afternoon. However, I think within the advertising industry, there is a problem of imbalance. And what they've done is they've gone from one extreme to the other. So there was massive underrepresentation of black people within adverts on television, and there's now clearly overrepresentation. And you can't have absolute statistical balance, but I think that is a problem. But there are other issues around advertising as well. There's a significant underrepresentation of people over the age of 50 in adverts. Now, maybe it's because I'm an old git. Apologise for saying that, that I see that, but it's true.
Yeah, and they're not as funny anymore, are they?
No.
They're so scared.
And that was going to bring me to my next point, because I think that the reason this has happened is the 2010 era of the wokeness that basically said if you don't have a person of colour in your advertisements, then you are a racist, or you're not your white supremacist company.
The advertising industry they're so scared to cause offence. And what does that block? Humour. You know, do you remember the Cadbury advert, the dairy milk with the boy and the girl with the funny dancing eyebrows? And, you know, funny adverts that you just don't see anymore. You know, when I'm on the tube, I see boring ads, and they do not brighten my day. And so, yeah, they are concerned about quotas, which we've discussed are racist in themselves, and not offending anybody, so that they basically become really boring ads, and I'm not going to buy any stuff from them.
But Ellie, I'm not sure it's quotas. I don't think the advertising industry have said X percentage of black people need to be. But what they've done is like turning a tank around. There was massive underrepresentation, and they've gone too far.
I tell you what, it's white liberals within the media trying to virtual signal. It's like reality shows. We've got to have a trans person. They make up 0.5% of the population. But every reality show, we have to have a token trans person. It's gone crazy, and it's the people within the media and entertainment that are doing this, and it's causing division.
And also, as you say, tokenism is also wrong, and a lot of these people don't want to be patronised by...
My little brother's a mixed race, right? They hate seeing it. They find it actually very cringe and embarrassing, because they're looking at it and going, well, this is clearly forced. And then everyone else looks around and go, yeah, I know, it just doesn't look natural.
Same as what my friend said. Well, we're not any different to you. Don't try and treat us as special people and try and over-represent us.
What I think happens is that they're forcing you to see race, rather than forcing you to look at the product. They're forcing you to look at the wrong thing on the screen.
Which causes division and winds up... We know there's an extreme on the left and the right, and it winds those people up.
I couldn't care less, frankly. I don't really watch many TV advertisers, apart from the great ones on GBNews, of course. So I don't really care. But I just think we need to have a very open discussion, because if we're going to call one thing racist and another thing not racist, like I showed some of those clips, I think we get into very difficult trouble here. Anyway, listen, Transport for London have got a response for us, because we did go to them for a comment. They have said this. The proportion, previously stated this, I beg your pardon, the proportion of Londoners agreeing that they have all the information they need to confidently intervene in an incident of sexual harassment on public transport has gone up, as well as this 15% of campaigners recognise claims that they have already reported or intervened as a result of seeing or our advertising. So it's a very convoluted statement there. TfL report also shows BAME, B-A-M-E, Londoners are more likely to express concerns over safety and security, particularly after dark, than white Londoners. We have also previously contacted the BBC in regards to their post about the TfL campaign, and we will give that to you as soon as we receive it. Anyway, your time is ticking on your chance to win the biggest prize of the year in our current Great British giveaway, as there's just 1 week left to get your entry in. You could drive away with a brand new motorhome and 30k in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
There's just 5 days left to enter the biggest giveaway of the year so far, with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. The coming year could be your best yet. But hurry, get your entry in now. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up, it's been reported that Prince Andrew is in advanced talks with the King's representatives about leaving his royal lodge. Where do you think he might be going? We'll bring you the latest on that shortly, but next...
They sit in hotels and digs for months on end at the taxpayers' expense.
Well, it looks like it's carrying on anyway, Keir, doesn't it? Because by the end of the year, over 90% of UK councils will be housing asylum seekers. Is it right that councils are required to house asylum seekers? Well, I'm going to be joined by Darren Grimes and some other guests who are going to go head-to-head on this issue. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, more than 9 in 10 councils in the United Kingdom will be housing asylum seekers by the end of the year. That's according to Home Office documents. This means unemployed migrants will be living at taxpayers' expense in communities across the country, and most likely by that stat, yours too. The number of local authorities housing migrants sat at 82% in the summer. That number has since risen and is now projected to hit 92% by the year's end. That's a 10% increase at least there. That's the Express revealing on Sunday. And is it right that councils are required to house asylum seekers? Should asylum seekers be forced upon our communities? Well, I'm delighted now to be joined by Reform UK Council and Deputy Leader there, Darren Grimes, and academic researcher and author Dr. Reza Vedadi. Darren, I'd love to start with you on this because, of course, you are running a council yourself. Many people will be asking tonight, Darren, why do I have to pay for this, and why am I, who might be on a waiting list for a social home, going to be at the back of the queue?
Well, Alex, good to be with you. I couldn't agree more. If they are indeed expressing that sentiment, it's fundamentally wrong when your local authorities, which are struggling, even more so if you've got a whackery and walkery local government, but even if you've got a reform one, which is trying to trim the fat and cut the waste, we are still on the brink of bankruptcy because we're forced to carry the burden of the government's immigration failures without actually the funding or the consent, as well as the hammer blow of SEND costs, that's children with special educational needs, transport for them to get to and from school, and also the high needs block, which is children which may well have been expelled from school or can't be in mainstream schooling. Those costs that government has passed on to us and said you have to fund through ever higher taxes, well, we can't do that. We are at breaking point. Councils ultimately, Alex, in my opinion, should serve local taxpayers first. They shouldn't act as an overflow accommodation for the Home Office and their migrant madness that they're allowing to envelop the whole nation, putting our communities at risk, or indeed by passing on the buck on everything from the high needs children to adult social care and the reforms on the ICB, which is the care body that they're actually bringing about as a government. They're forcing those costs over to your local councils, and that's putting them at breaking point. We haven't got the ability to take on those who we will never receive council tax income from, because as you well know, Alex, these people, they're here at the taxpayers' leisure, right? They're not going to contribute to your local authority and your local area.
You know, Dr. Reza, what do you make of that? And Darren's got a good point. Our councils are at breaking points. Our housing associations some of them have waiting lists for over a decade in parts of London. So if you're a law-abiding citizen who desperately needs a home, you will not get that home before an asylum seeker will.
So I think we have to just clarify some things. The Home Office, central government, is responsible for housing the asylum seekers. Once the the application has been granted, then the situation moves where the council may get involved in housing them. But before that, it's the government that in 2019 signed a big contract with Serco, Mears Group and Clear Spring Ready Homes, initially at 4.5 billion for 10 years. That's 2019. 7 years have passed, 6 years have passed. There's only 3-4 years left. That has now been revised at £15 billion contract. So the government in those 10 years could have invested that and built homes that the asylum seekers, when they enter, they could use these homes, and then once the application is accepted, they can go and work.
Dr. Reza, I totally appreciate that, but that is not the reality we're facing today. We are facing and staring down the barrel of councils and housing associations that are desperately trying to prioritise British people, but they will not be able to. In fact, I've been working on a case where there's 2 people who are actually living in a tent in a garden by the gift of someone in their local area because they can't get housing because the whole local association, the housing association, is prioritising asylum seekers. Why should British people be at the back of the queue?
Again, as you didn't let me finish what I was saying. It's not the asylum seekers that are getting these houses, it's who's allocating it to them. The government is signing contracts with big corporations that are making money out of it. Why is the government not investing it into councils so councils could build homes? Like we had 30, 40 years ago, council houses where British and non-British could use them continuously without it being sold off, as Margaret Thatcher did. Why is not that being taken into account?
I'll pass that back to Darren.
Well, that's a complete nonsense, with the greatest possible respect allocated to it. Look, Right to Buy, Margaret Thatcher's Right to Buy programme allowed people like my mother to buy their council houses and have security over their own lives. What we're talking about here and now, you suggest there, your guest proffers the idea of us having a mass house building programme for migrants. Actually, I think many of them, in most cases, actually should be deported. I don't think they ought to be receiving a mass house building programme at a time when we have a chronic housing crisis. People aren't having children because of the fact they can't get a house big enough to allocate small young families. Councils are being told that actually they have no choice when it comes to homes with multiple occupancies, known as HMOs, to be forced upon them. You do mention Mia's Group there. Mia's Group are being given vast sums, you are right about that, but I have residents calling me, Alex, who say, Darren, and they call me in floods of tears, by the way, I've got a family, that's a very generous way of putting it, a house of 6 men, 6 foreign fellas that we know absolutely nothing about, moving in next door, and I'm absolutely terrified for my sons and daughters' welfare and safety. And you want to tell us that actually we should have a mass house building programme for these people. If Whitehall wants this policy, Whitehall should pay for it, not Durham, not Rotherham, not anywhere else. I think there is a disgraceful element here not being considered. GP appointments, school places, housing lists that you've mentioned, Alex, they're stretched beyond all belief. Every extra placement of some illegal with no right to be here adds real strain to communities already struggling with the contention of cuts or tax rises. That's the position we're in. Nobody voted for this. No one at all, Alex. It's anti-democratic and it's a disgrace to the British public.
I'll give you the final word. Dr. Razor, what do you make of Darren's comments there?
Well, I never said build the houses for the refugees or the asylum seekers. I said build the houses for the councils so that, again, people like your mother who benefited it 40 years ago when she bought their property, others who can also benefit for the 50s, 60s, 70s who benefited from having subsidized housing, British citizens, non-British citizens, whoever they are, whoever they're eligible to have access to. So the building of houses long-term helps fix those problems. It's not for the refugees. When I say build houses, it's for anyone who resides in the United Kingdom and anyone who's not legally in this country, applications accepted. That's a different matter for them to be deported. We're not talking about that. We're talking about shortage of housages. And if the council should provide the council, at the moment, the law says the council doesn't need to provide. It's the Home Secretary that needs to provide.
All right, look, we'll have this debate a little bit more often. Thank you both very much for coming on. Reform UK councillor Darren Grimes there, and academic researcher and author Dr. Reza Vidadi. A Home Office spokesperson has said this: the government is furious about the number of illegal migrants in this country and in hotels. That is why we will close every single asylum hotel, saving the taxpayer billions of pounds. We have already taken action, closing hotels, slashing asylum costs and nearly £1 billion, and exploring the use of military bases and disused properties. What do you make of that? Coming up, I'll be asking, what is the phrase black fatigue? But next...
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
Well, it's been reported that Prince Andrew is in advanced talks with the King's representatives about leaving his royal lodge home. But where might he be going? Another palace, perhaps? This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello there. We've got showers and longer spells of rain across western parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Further east, some warm sunshine. We can see Madeira seeing some showery outbreaks of rain for the next few days. Temperatures in the low 20s. The risk of a few showers for southern Spain and Portugal. But in the sunshine, temperatures above average. Plenty of dry weather across Italy and Greece at the moment. Temperatures 25, 26 Celsius. So feeling warm in that sunshine, and it stays pretty settled the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We've got an unsettled week of weather in store across the UK, all of us seeing rain at times, often quite blustery, although it will turn a bit milder towards the end of the week and certainly into next weekend. At the moment, we've got low pressure feeding its way southeastwards across the UK, tightly packed isobars, indicating quite blustery weather too, and certainly as we head into the evening and through the overnight period, quite a blustery feel to the weather across the UK. Outbreaks of rain gradually clearing from the south and southwest, leaving some clear spells in the south, whereas it's very showery across northern and central parts and blustery winds, even a little bit of winteriness across the high ground in Scotland, and temperatures low enough here for a touch of frost in some rural spots, but staying mostly frost-free towards the south with temperatures near double figures in some towns and cities. So we start the new working week on quite a showery note, certainly across the north of Scotland, lots of showers packing in on that northerly breeze. Still a bit wintry those showers across the highest ground in Scotland, a touch of frost to say in rural spots to start the day. Mostly fine across the southern parts of Scotland, a few showers across Northern Ireland, and a few showers too pushing across Northern England, North Wales into the Midlands, with some sunshine to start the day on Monday across the far south of England. As we go through the rest of the day, it stays quite showery in the morning, quite a blustery northerly breeze too. The showers and those winds gradually ease though from the west as we go into the afternoon, and then some more persistent rain starts to approach Northern Ireland by the very end of the day. Once again, it's quite chilly for the time of year, certainly across the north and northeast of the UK. Here temperatures no better than 7 or 8 Celsius in a few spots, whereas down towards the south and southwest, nearer average at around 13 or 14 degrees. Outbreaks of rain out towards the west will push eastwards into Tuesday morning, and Tuesday looks like a very breezy day with further showers or longer spells of rain, so staying quite unsettled and again quite chilly for the time of year, with temperatures into the low teens at the very best. That's into the low to mid 50s in Fahrenheit. Low pressure is dominant for the rest of the week, so it stays pretty unsettled. Further showers or longer spells of rain to come, but at least those temperatures start to climb during the latter stages of the week.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
But welcome back, everybody. Now, I know, listen, it's a controversial topic to some of you at home, but just hear me out on this one, because Prince Andrew could soon be on the move. He is said to be in advanced talks with the King's senior aides about leaving his royal lodge at his home in Windsor. It comes after growing pressure over his so-called peppercorn rent deal and, of course, renewed attention on his links to Jeffrey Epstein and Virginia Giuffre's memoirs. Well, palace officials have reportedly been speaking with him daily about his future living arrangements. This is, of course, as royal sources have told the Daily Mail that William and Kate want to move into Forest Lodge, nearby to Royal Lodge in Windsor Great Park, before bonfire night. I'm now joined by editor-at-large and the only authority I trust on this topic, on the editor-at-large in the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Charlotte, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this, because this story is constantly moving on. And I think what would be helpful is for the audience to know, where could Andrew be going, and do we think it's imminent him leaving?
I do think it's imminent that he's going to leave. As you said before, the time pressure now, amongst many other time pressures, is the fact that William and Catherine are moving in before bonfire night, and they desperately want him out of the area. They want the circus to be gone because they want their kids to be really settled there. It's their forever home. And, you know, they've got a new school term ahead. So they really do want him gone. Where can he go is a debate much discussed at the office this week. We are hearing so many different things. We heard Abu Dhabi, where the Crown Prince has apparently offered him a palace, money, a compound, so he'd have privacy and security. Actually, everything he could ever dream of, really, except that apparently, of course, we know it's very hot there, and apparently Andrew doesn't like hot countries. And we do know for sure, because of Newsnight, that he doesn't sweat. So that is apparently his reluctance to go there. And otherwise you'd think he would love to have this kind of rich benefactor spoiling him rotten. So the other options that are being discussed are one of the houses on the Balmoral estate or somewhere in Scotland. But apparently he doesn't want to be cold either. And he doesn't want to be too far away from his daughters. So that leaves Sandringham. He could stay in Wood Farm, which is where his father, Prince Philip, lived towards the end of his life. That's probably quite an appropriate choice. It has to be something that is privately owned, really, by the king, because the whole thing is we want him out of a taxpayer-funded property.
And what's the role of William in all of this? Because I've heard whispers saying that actually William's the one putting all the pressure on getting rid of Andrew as much as possible. So, you know, if he were to take over the throne at any moment, perhaps, he wouldn't be having to deal with this issue.
I absolutely agree. William is the one who's taking a really firm hand on the tiller over all this. He desperately wants to cut away all the risks associated with the monarchy. He wants the monarchy to be a strong institution going forward. And of course, any external member of the family or wider circle in the family is just a risk. And Andrew is case in point. You know, he's an absolute disaster, you know, reputationally for the monarchy. So I think when William becomes king, if and when that is, I think he'll strip Harry away, Meghan away, the Yorks away, pretty much everyone away other than his own family. And he's doing that in a way for the good of the monarchy, because although Beatrice and Eugenie have never put a foot wrong, you know, what if their offspring one day becomes a black sheep? You know, every family has a black sheep. The royal family have a few. So I think he's quite rightly saying, look, Dad, thanks for streamlining the monarchy. I'm going to cut it back to its very bare bones, because that's the only way it will survive in the long-term future.
Absolutely, Charlotte. I think we're going to see a very radical king in King William when he does take the throne. And I think it will be a very interesting time, because I think we do need to see the royal family evolve into his image of it, at least. Well, listen, Charlotte Griffiths there, editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday. Thank you so much for giving us the inside information on that, and really appreciate you coming on the show as ever. And coming up, though, yesterday, thousands of what I would call Islamist sectarian men flooded the streets of East London in Whitechapel. But first...
That's outside, you get me? That's outside. That's here to entertain, you get me? I got money in the bag, take you home with me.
Well, what is black fatigue? I'll find out next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GBNews,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GBNews anywhere on the planet or beyond. GBNews, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
as I said, now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless, and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong tonight. I've got a very special guest here with me, by the way, but we're going to talk about this first because a man has gone viral after what I think is terrifying passengers on the public London Underground. Take a look at this.
That's outside, you get me? That's outside. That's here to entertain, you get me? I got money in the bag, take you home with me.
He does do this act in other videos where he does do the same thing to other people. It tends to be women who unfortunately jump up or have to run away. They're the ones who react the most. The man in the video later apologised, saying it was a joke. Now, I'm joined by Based and Bougie, who has commented on this with the phrase black fatigue. And I want to know, Based and Bougie, what does black fatigue mean?
Well, black fatigue is actually a word that was created by black people who are tired of how Western black people act. I want to make it very clear, black fatigue is not a reflection of all black people. As an African person, I can tell you that us Africans were very conservative, we're very polite, but something has happened in Western culture where black people think it's okay to just be hooting and hollering in the middle of the street. Can we just first start off with the fact that that was not funny? Nothing about that was funny. Whether he was white, black, Asian, it wasn't hilarious. But I think it's also symbolic of just the state of our world right now, where you see young Gen Z, they are so obsessed with the algorithm, they are so obsessed with clicks and that a dopamine hit. And it's also a reflection of just the lack of, the erosion of British culture. British culture means sitting down calmly and having respect for the person that's beside you, especially considering what's going on with the way women are being sexually assaulted, women are being harassed. I'm not sure if you saw the recent ad where they showed a black woman whilst a white man was behind
We
them.
actually just played it at 9 o'clock this evening. Yeah, we were talking about that, and I'd love to get your opinion on it. Obviously, the man in the video would say it's entertainment. He's trying to get a reaction from people, of course. And you were talking about that advertisement because obviously members here, this is all off the back of what Sarah Poachin had said as well, and lots of other things that are happening in London. Are we sort of headed to this cultural decay in the West?
Definitely. Most definitely. Even if you step out into just a supermarket, you never hear English. Even if you just pick up the phone for customer service, you never hear English. Even when you're just on the train, this guy thinks it's acceptable to just be screaming and shouting and hooting and hollering. And I'm so sorry to say this, but this is predominantly amongst black people and black men, and the reason why is because in the West, for some reason, black people think they can't do more than just be entertaining. Sometimes it's okay to just be a construction worker. Sometimes it's okay to just be a doctor. You don't have to be this idiot TikTok star. And I know this guy. I'm not saying this to be fair. I don't know him personally, but I've seen his TikToks. He's always screaming on live, fighting with his girlfriends, fat-shaming women. It's just not funny.
I want to get your thoughts on the UKIP protest. You were there yesterday.
Yes, I was.
So you were at the Knightsbridge part of the protest, not the Whitechapel bit, am I right?
Yes,
what was it like in Knightsbridge? We're going to be talking about this at 10 o'clock, by the way. This is a really big deal. What do you make of it all?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that Nick Tanconi and the UKIP party did an absolutely successful job. It was very peaceful. Everyone was very happy. And it just felt like a very good historic moment. But what I noticed is as we was marching and walking, a lot of people in the crowd looked very concerned. And this is another thing I want people to know is that there was this, Middle Eastern man. He was actually shouting disgusting white men or disgusting white people. And what had happened is the police actually grabbed this guy, and as they were searching him, he had a knife in his sock. He had a knife in his sock.
Wow.
So whilst this person had a knife in his sock, the police politely escorted him. They did not arrest him there and there. They politely escorted him. Whether they put him in jail or not, but they did pretty much nothing. Do you
We
understand?
will reach out to the Met Police and find out and get some information on that and bring that to the audience as we find out about it. Was there a lot of counter-protesting along the way?
Yes, there was a lot of counter-protesting. You would see people trying to get cameras out just for clickbait. You would see people saying, you know, we're fascist and racist. And let me make something very clear. If waving the British flags makes you cross, respectfully, pack your bags and get lost. I'm so tired of people coming to this country and just being outright disrespectful and just, you know, just treating this country as if it's nothing. If you do not like the country, why are you here? You will never see this in China. You will never see this in the UAE. You won't even see this in Africa. People are literally being offended by the national flag.
And what did you make of the counter-protest in Whitechapel? Have you seen some of the clips of that?
Yes, I saw the clips. I specifically saw a clip of Narinda. She was awfully quiet. She was very, very quiet. I also saw a video of young Bob. He, you know, beans was thrown in his face. And what's so ironic is that the left are always talking about, you know, poverty and how we need to help the less fortunate. But here they are just throwing food out for free that could have been given to the less fortunate.
Yeah, it does seem to me, Based and Bougie, that there is this really big two-tier hypocrites on the left, should I say, get my words out properly, that they want this sort of space for themselves, but when it comes to other people protesting, they can't help but go there, even though the police have said, don't go to that protest, we want you to stay away for keeping all these things peaceful. Our audience also want to know, what does Based and Bougie actually mean?
Based basically means that I just have a strong mindset, very conservative mindset, and it's very hard to convince me otherwise. Bougie just means girly. Like anyone who knows me knows that I'm extremely girly. Yeah.
Oh, listen, thank you so much for joining me to give me a take on all the cultural decay in London, all of the issues facing, you know, the country today. I think there's a lot of comments coming in here saying that they love what you have to say. So thank you very much for joining me. Listen, I've got a very, very big 10 o'clock, lined up for you. I have a massive, massive 10 o'clock lined up for you because we will be showing you bombshell clips of that protest yesterday. We had thousands of what I would call Islamist, sectarian men flooding the streets of East London. That's as 100 UKIP protesters were shouting mass deportations now. On that too, I've got a Whitehall insider coming on to tell us why there are concerns that Chagos plots of land are being sold to some of our biggest enemies. This is a massive show. I will see you in just a tick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We've got an unsettled week of weather in store across the UK, all of us seeing rain at times, often quite blustery, although it will turn a bit milder towards the end of the week and certainly into next weekend. At the moment, we've got low pressure feeding its way southeastwards across the UK, tightly packed isobars, indicating quite blustery weather too, and certainly as we head into the evening and through the overnight period, quite a blustery feel to the weather across the UK. Outbreaks of rain gradually clearing from the south and southwest, leaving some clear spells in the south, whereas it's very showery across northern and central parts and blustery winds, even a little bit of winteriness across the high ground in Scotland, and temperatures low enough here for a touch of frost in some rural spots, but staying mostly frost-free towards the south with temperatures near double figures in some towns and cities. So we start the new working week on quite a showery note, certainly across the north of Scotland, lots of showers packing in on that northerly breeze. Still a bit wintry though, showers across the highest ground in Scotland, a touch of frost to say in rural spots to start the day. Mostly fine across the southern parts of Scotland, a few showers across Northern Ireland, and a few showers too pushing across northern England, North Wales into the Midlands, with some sunshine to start the day on Monday across the far south of England. As we go through the rest of the day, it stays quite showery in the morning, quite a blustery northerly breeze too. The showers and those winds gradually ease though from the west as we go into the afternoon, and then some more persistent rain starts to approach Northern Ireland by the very end of the day. Once again, it's quite chilly for the time of year, certainly across the north and northeast of the UK. Here temperatures no better than 7 or 8 Celsius in a few spots, whereas down towards the south and southwest, nearer average at around 13 or 14 degrees. Outbreaks of rain out towards the west will push eastwards into Tuesday morning, and Tuesday looks like a very breezy day with further showers or longer spells of rain, so staying quite unsettled and again quite chilly for the time of year, with temperatures into the low teens at the very best. That's into the low to mid 50s in Fahrenheit. Low pressure is dominant for the rest of the week, so it stays pretty unsettled. Further showers or longer spells of rain to come, but at least those temperatures start to climb during the latter stages of the week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, everybody. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight.
What's going on, mate? Median Libby. Come on. Lag out. No face, no case. What's going on, my people? In all our shops, alhamdulillah. This Saturday, inshallah, if you guys need it, £5 each.
No face, no case. Well, I wonder what he means by that. Islamist sectarians marched through London with some eyewitnesses claiming they were wielding bats. I've got all the bombshell clips. And with rumoured secret discussions being had about some of our greatest enemies being handed plots of land in the Chagos Islands, well, I've had to bring in a Whitehall insider to blow the lid on all of it. And
they sit in hotels and digs for months on end at the taxpayers' expense.
With the social housing waiting list for British people in some councils higher than 10 years of waiting, well, I think it's sickening to hear that up to 90% of councils will house asylum seekers by the end of the year. And the Metro leads with worried Wes. Voters are in despair. I wonder what that all means. The Telegraph are saying billions wasted in migrant hotel chaos. I thought the Prime Minister pledged to get on top of all of that. Home Office failings allowed to firms to reap excessive profits from the taxpayer, says a report. Well, we're going to be digging into all of that and more. On my panel this evening, I've got businessman and activist Adam Brooks, senior reporter from Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. And it looks like Donald Trump's got a new dance.
Going back to Honolulu just to get that Maui Wowie.
Yes, a huge 2 hours coming up, but first let's get your news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Alex. Good evening to you. 2 minutes past 10 here in the GB newsroom. The family of a schoolgirl assaulted by Hadish Kabatu in July say they feel massively let down and infuriated by his accidental release from prison. The Ethiopian migrant was apprehended in the Finsbury Park area of North London this morning after a 2-day manhunt, having been freed on Friday. He reportedly directed to the train station by prison staff. He was jailed last month for assaulting a woman and a 14-year-old girl while being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping. In a statement, the girl's father added that images of Kabatu were circulated by police before they'd been informed of his release, describing the system failure as unbelievably irresponsible. Justice Secretary David Lammy's confirmed a member of staff at HMP Chelmsford's been suspended and says Kabatu will be deported this week.
This was totally unacceptable. I will be making a statement in Parliament tomorrow. There will be a further and full investigation into how this happened. It's right that he's questioned by the police following his route from Essex into London, and then of course 48 hours in which he has been basically around. It's right that we get to the bottom of what's happened over the course of those 48 hours, but I can assure you that he will be deported as he was expected to be deported. I expect that to happen this week.
2 men have been arrested over the robbery of crown jewels from the Louvre Museum last Sunday. The suspects, both in their 30s, were identified by traces of DNA found at the museum, although the stolen jewellery has not been recovered. They're believed to have been part of a gang who broke into the Apollo Gallery and made off with items worth around £76 million. One of the 2 suspects was apprehended while waiting to board a flight to Algeria from Charles de Gaulle Airport. The US and China have agreed the framework of a trade deal ahead of a meeting between the countries' leaders later this week. The apparent progress comes during the first leg of President Trump's tour of Asia, where he oversaw the signing of a peace declaration and was greeted with fanfare in Kuala Lumpur. It appears to stave off the threat of an ongoing trade war and may ease diplomatic tensions ahead of this week's meeting between Mr. Trump and the Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the threat of 100% tariffs are off the table, and the agreement includes a final deal on TikTok's US operations. A woman in Walsall has been raped in what police have called a racially aggravated attack. Officers were called to the Park Hall area of the town just after 7 o'clock last night, saying the woman in her 20s was assaulted at a nearby property by a man she didn't know. They've released this CCTV footage of the suspect, describing him as white, in his 30s, with short hair and wearing dark clothing. West Midlands Police have launched an urgent public appeal to help identify the suspect. MPs are planning to defy convention by debating Prince Andrew's conduct, the stripping of his dukedom and his continued residence in Royal Lodge. The Lib Dems have indicated they will use their next Opposition Day debate to allow members to discuss the issues in the House, and are calling for the Prince and the Crown Estate to give evidence under oath in Parliament. Politicians have historically refrained from criticising the royal family in the House of Commons. Andrew agreed to no longer use his titles last Friday after continuing revelations about his links to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And Hurricane Melissa has been strengthened to a Category 4 hurricane that has threatened to cause havoc in parts of the Caribbean. It's already reached Haiti and the Dominican Republic, killing 4 people. And residents in Jamaica are being warned of potentially catastrophic flooding and landslides when it reaches the island on Monday. It's expected to bring winds of up to 115 miles per hour, and forecasters are saying there may be 25 inches of rain in torrential conditions. Authorities are warning of a threat to life and are urging residents to seek shelter immediately. Those are your headlines. Now it's back to Alex.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, do not say I didn't warn you.
Hey, Tommy, where are you, bro? This is my gang. You see all of these not here? How about that?
Well, I've said it, many of you at home have said it, and the scenes in Whitechapel last night just confirmed it. There's a little bit at the end there. The far lefty shouts, "Oh, we're all on the same side, bruv." Well, we'll find out more about that in just a second. But of course, there's no need for that, he says. We're on the same side. Only to then be told by a man in a balaclava, no, we're not. Well, the left will always have to learn the hard way. After emboldening and empowering dangerous sectarianism and cultural ghettoisation, the only people to blame are the people with the paid-for placards and our gutless politicians.
What's going on, mate? Medium Libby. Come on. Lag out. No face, no case. What's going on, my people? In all our shops, alhamdulillah. This Saturday, inshallah, if you guys need it, £5 each.
No face, no case. I wonder what he means by that. And thousands of what I would call Islamist sectarian men flooded the streets of East London in Whitechapel, mostly wrapped up in balaclavas, terrifying passers-by, chanting Allahu Akbar, flying flags of their homeland and Palestine, as well as lighting flares.
Everyone is here, my people. Alhamdulillah. Have a look. 360 degrees. All you can see is the mandem, the brothers. We're located and we are here.
Yeah, the mandem, he calls it. Well, he's right about that, isn't he? It's almost 99% male men of Asian ethnicity who turned out, mostly, as you can see from the clip, masked up, with one man laughing while he said he saw people with baseball bats.
Okay, so I literally just got here, and now there's people with like balaclavas and bats. I mean, it's a vibe.
It's not a vibe, is it? It's terrifying for people in London. These men were supposedly meant to be the face of a counter-protest. They were outraged at about 100 UKIP protesters who said they wanted to reclaim the streets from Islamists and chanted deportations now. Yeah, that's received public outrage from the left, of course. But you are told that every single weekend you have to be OK with globalise the intifada and chants of jihad, targeting and intimidating not just Jewish people, in my opinion, but British people alike. Do you see the two-tier outrage here? Remember when the Unites the Kingdom rally took place and Labour jumped on the bandwagon and condemned it as a far-right thuggery march? These are not scenes that should ever be taking place or be prolific in Britain. Sectarianism is here, and I think it's more emboldened than ever before. Let's get the thoughts of my panel, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Ellie, I'll start with you. The point I always like to get to with these is the two-tier outrage. You know, the Unite the Kingdom rally, hundreds of thousands of people, from what I could tell, with massive banners of Union Jacks walking down the street. There was a tiny amount of arrests, which I condemned on air, because I don't think any violence against the police is acceptable. But that's immediately far-right thuggery, right? All of that. And then as soon as we see scenes like that, there's complete silence.
No, you're right. And last time I looked, there's nothing from the Justice Secretary, the Home Secretary, obviously Starmer, which is absolutely shocking. And, you know, wearing balaclavas is absolutely not a thing that we should have in Britain. It is a badge of bad intent. And as that man over there was saying, no face, no case, it shows that they are trying to not get caught when committing crimes or inciting violence, which is not something we want to see in Britain from any group, by the way, from any political or non-political protest group.
Yeah.
And Stand Up to Racism, by the way, is just a totally lefty group that actually encourages violence, and we saw that in the Epping protest.
I was there.
You were there, and they came and actually started the violence that then broke out.
And they was labelling kids that were with their nans and their mums as Nazis.
Yeah.
So, and they're white middle-class liberals calling kids Nazis, and apparently they're the good guys. But look,
I mean, when you look at those scenes, Adam, in Whitechapel, I mean, listen, I think what UKIP were doing was antagonising, but they have a right to do it. They have a right to do it the same way that the Palestine protesters have a right to do it. I just think there is a two-tier outrage on our senior political and some of our media elites who will be absolutely gobsmacked to see white British people protesting with a Union Jack. They weren't all white British people there, by the way, but they'll be absolutely gobsmacked and they'll be astounded. But when it comes to what I would say is sectarians marching through the streets, they have nothing to say.
Let's be honest here. If there was hundreds of white men with balaclavas in a militia-style outfit, all black, walking down the road, the next day the headlines would be far-right take over East London or extremists. We didn't hear a peep from the media over that. That was quite intimidating and quite shocking because they're scared. Like our Prime Minister is scared to even call out an Islamist terrorist that carried out the atrocity at the synagogue the other day. We have cowards everywhere that bow down and do not want to offend. At the end of the day, we've got a two-tier Kia. We've got two-tier judiciary, two-tier policing, and a two-tier media. And that is causing division and hatred in this country. And it is going to cause a big problem if it's not sorted out. Our media need to start covering things fairly and truthfully.
Bill, do you think the Home Secretary should have said something about that protest?
Arguably, yes, and I think maybe will. And she's got a good track record of standing up on issues like this. But look, I think there's a degree of division and polarisation within our society that I've never seen before, and I think it's a real concern. And I'm prepared to call it out. I think Islamism, a belief that you should guide public and political life, not just personal life, by your religion, is a real concern. Most Muslims reject that.
Agreed.
But I nevertheless think that there are elements of the far left, not within the Labour Party, but the far left, who, for want of a better phrase, are in bed with Islamofascists, which is part of what we saw yesterday. And I think, and I'm not a knee-jerk banner, but I think the use of masks has become a real concern, and I think we should consider legislation. I mean, I was walking through Liverpool Street Station earlier in the week, and there was a guy with just a red mask on, completely covering his face. I mean, it's intimidating, it's threatening, and I don't see why you're wearing a mask unless you're doing it for nefarious purposes.
They should be arrested. Absolutely should be arrested.
Well, the law doesn't allow you to do that at the moment, and that's why I think we should consider changing the law.
Let's also remember, UKIP were not allowed to march. Whitechapel knew that. This was a show of strength. Now, the police knew there was going to be hundreds of men turning up. If this was UKIP walking there, I've got nothing to do with UKIP, don't support UKIP, there would be police with batons. They were nowhere to be seen in Whitechapel on Saturday. So the difference in policing is evident. And
I think
for
there were
me,
4 arrested, weren't there?
Something like that. But look, if there was weapons, that is a serious allegation that people have made, and we need it investigated.
We will certainly dig into, because there was a couple of claims made by Based and Bougie as well, and we have actually contacted. She said she witnessed a man with a knife in his sock being escorted by the police. We've contacted the Met Police, and we will wait for a response, and we will get back to you on that. But of course, that eyewitness I played in my intro there, he said he saw people with bats. Now, this all, going back on a slightly different tangent here, Ellie, because I think about the Maccabi football fans that were banned from coming to watch that game. And I think we're getting very dangerously close to sectarians basically saying, if we can show up in huge numbers, we can stop freedom of speech, we can stop freedom of protest, because the police will have to fall on our side. And I understand some of the concerns are because the police would have 100 UKIP protesters versus all those men. I think it would have been a bloodbath, if I'm being honest with you. So I think the police may have made the right decision to protect the public, but that's not how we should have to live in this country.
No, absolutely not. And our politicians need to be stronger about this. With the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans not being able to come and watch a football match was absolutely shocking. And there was lots of tweets from Starmer and Shabana Mahmood saying, this is awful, we'll do everything in our power. They had the power to actually provide more policing for the match. They didn't do it. And that, by the way, that was only last week that this happened, and they did nothing to prevent the problems with that. So they need to be stronger and call this out. They should be tweeting, but maybe change the law on face masks, etc. As we say, you're not wearing one to not commit crime, right? Why do you want to hide your face? So I think our politicians need to call this stuff out.
Yeah, Bill, do you think that the police are at a dangerous point here, as I was saying to Ellie, that we could be kowtowing to sectarianism in the country?
I don't buy the argument that the police treat differentially. I think they've got a really challenging job to do, and the reality is that you've got people on the far left who want to ban people on the far right from protesting, and you've got people on the far right who want to ban people on the far left. And it's hypocrisy. And my view is that, you know, if you are demonstrating peacefully, you should be able to do that. And the only thing that you should be stopped from doing is committing violence and advocating violence. There should be free speech. But the idea, and, you know, I'm a very seasoned politician, the idea that instrumentally the police organise and demonstrate bias against one group of people against another because of their politics is just not borne out by the evidence.
Well, what I was getting at wasn't so much whether the police are sort of being bought into sectarianism. It was more that because of the power of sectarianism now, the police are having to say, we can't have these football fans here, we can't have a protest in this part of London. And that's what I'm concerned about. It's like the power of that movement is so strong now that police are having to actually shut down freedom of protest.
Well, the power of the movement on both sides, and I think that's the concern. But, you know, the police should be able to allow people on all sides of the debate to protest reasonably and have free speech.
Adam.
Look, we see some quite shocking things said at this protest in Whitechapel on Saturday, but I think sometimes these TikTokers and these interviewers do look for people that are going to be controversial. Yeah. Quite a few of them were saying, we want Sharia law, we want Sharia law. I've got a good friend that is a devout Muslim. You know, long beard, takes his religion very seriously. I asked him, would you like Sharia law in this country? Yeah. And he said, no chance. I do not want my kids growing up in that. I enjoy the country I live in. I respect the rules. So we can't pigeonhole and say that all Muslims want Sharia law. There is probably a percentage of them that do, but they're not the majority.
And I say this all the time. It is always the smallest group of people who shout the loudest. Like, I think, like the radical trans movement, I think it's exactly the same there. And I think this is exactly the same. But there are cases where those small groups of radicals can make a huge impact. They can change entire countries like they did in Iran.
And they can amplify their message to get likes and to get followers on TikTok. Remember, a lot of these young generation will say things that maybe they don't even mean just to get 100,000 views on TikTok.
But I think as well, and you've acknowledged it, Adam, most Muslims do not support Islamism. And I think there's a really important role for Muslim leaders and Muslim faith leaders to actually argue that and demonstrate.
They're scared, Bill. I've spoken to devout Muslims and they're scared to speak out because of the extreme violence that comes from a minority in their community.
The role of leaders in any walk of life and faith leaders is to tell the people who follow them the truth. And I think Islamism, which is frankly, I think, a vile creed, needs to be challenged and exposed.
A final word to you on all of this.
Totally agree with you. It's the tyranny of the minority, isn't it, with all these things? And yes, as you were saying, the vast majority of Muslims do not believe that we should have Sharia law in this country, but we need these leaders to voice that, and so that we don't think, oh, it's just everyone in that particular group that believes these particular opinions. They don't.
Do you know what I'll do? Next week, I have been seeing some clips of some young Muslim men and women speaking up against this, and I'm going to bring you some clips of it. I'm going to put it on this programme because we get criticised all the time for not showing both sides of the debate. So I'm going to do that next Saturday. All right, let's bring that in, shall we? Because we do need to show there are people who are trying to do this, and we need to give them a voice and we need to amplify them. Anyway, moving on, because time is ticking, a chance to win the biggest prize of the year in our current Great British Giveaway. As there's just 1 week left to get your entry, and you could drive away with a brand new motorhome and 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
There's just 5 days left to enter the biggest giveaway of the year so far, with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. The coming year could be your best yet. But hurry, get your entry in now. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up on the show, it looks like Trump's found a new dance.
Going back to Honolulu just to get that Maui Wowie.
He's so unironically funny, isn't he? MPs have approached the surrender of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, along with an estimated £30 billion price tag, despite fears of a secret deal with China. I've got a bit of a scoop on this. I've got a Whitehall insider coming in to tell us more about what on earth is happening there. Stay tuned. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
In most cases, adoption is really great. We've got an amazing adoption system here in the UK with really fantastic charities. We've seen about 1 in 20 dogs being adopted. Lots of people during COVID went out and bought lots of dogs. We had a huge increase in the dog population. And then those people went back to work, and some of them couldn't care for their dogs anymore. So the dog charities are literally chock-a-block. They're all fully booked up with their spaces. When you go and see that dog, I think you can get a feeling yourself of, how that dog is with you, that instant love and affection that you get from that dog. So use your heart. And save a dog.
And also take the advice, I think, of the people at the rescue centre. There was one that I really fancied because it was prettier than the one that they were recommending to me. And I said, oh, no, what?
Shallow.
Oh, that one. And they said, no, you're a first-time owner. That dog is not for you. That dog is a very high-maintenance dog, needs a very, very experienced owner. And they gave me the right one.
It's just coming up to the Christmas period where people make emotional decisions about pets for a family.
And a dog is not just for Christmas, it's for life. And it's a lifelong commitment. Dogs are with us, and some of them are needy and some of them are more independent. If you give your dogs lots of love, you exercise them well, you feed them well, you're able to leave them for, short periods of time. But if you are at work for 8-10 hours a day, it's just too long to leave a dog for. So, really keep that in mind, that, is that dog going to work for you in your life? Saying that, dogs bring you so much. They're going to make you live longer. They're going to, they're so good for you sort of health-wise. They're going to take you out for a walk every day. They're going to take you out in nature.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong tonight. Well, you haven't heard a lot about Chagos lately, have you? It seems to have all gone quiet. But rumours are suggesting that other parts of the islands in Chagos could be sold off to our global adversaries. Now, of course, there's this massive £30 billion price tag attached to this deal, to say the least. I suspect that would bloom in cost. So I really wanted to dig into what's been going on here because I think there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. So I'm now joined by a spokesperson for the Friends of British Overseas Territories, Rob Midgley, who also happened to also be a quite prominent back of the room guy in Downing Street back in your day, Rob too. Rob, tell us the latest on what's going on here.
Look, the Chagos Islands campaign has been riddled with sabotage, spying, lawfare, and I really believe that everyone should know the absolute scandal that's been building up to all of this. And I brought a few notes and I want to just go through it really chronologically with you.
Please do.
So let's go back to 2005. Keir Starmer visits Mauritius as a legal professional. All expenses paid for, Chagos is discussed. 2010, lawfare begins by his friend Philippe Sands, who tried to use UN CLOS to open up the legal case. Now, UN CLOS stands for United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas, and he uses that as a legal route to challenge UK sovereignty over Chagos Islands. Fast forward to 2019, Mauritius misleads the ICJ with that very same argument, and that court case was made up of Russian and Chinese judges. The UK did not use a defensive loophole of Article 298, which exempts the whole territory from being given away. Secondly, that ruling could never have been binding because both countries are part of the Commonwealth. 2021, the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, that argument was raised, claiming that telecoms jurisdiction supports Mauritius, but the technology is owned by the US, so that argument was completely irrelevant. 2022, phone hacking of negotiations and spyware was found targeted at those involved with the Chagos debate. Leaks of negotiations emerged. 2024, Labour gets in. Philippe Sands, who we spoke about a few seconds ago, and our dear Attorney General Lord Hermer meet afterwards, and the UN CLOS argument becomes government narrative and the reasoning for giving away the Chagos Islands. Later in 2024, Chinese-made advanced radar systems found on board Sri Lankan fishing vessels have been found in Diego Garcia. They're checked over, they're destroyed. February 2025, the Prime Minister of Mauritius, his home is raided and blank UK visas and suitcases of cash is found in his residence. This raises serious corruption concerns. May 2025, when the deal was signed, a delegation of Chinese diplomats rolled into Mauritius to congratulate them. This is when it was floated that they may purchase or lease the second biggest island in the Chagos archipelago, which is called Peros Benos. That was reportedly, they were going to give Mauritius $10 billion. September 2025, India signs a $700 million deal with Mauritius to help manage the Chagos Islands. It's absolutely insane. And that's to establish a monitoring satellite station for the marine protection zone. We all know what that means. It's terrifying just thinking about it. And this is all done before the UK and Mauritius even ratified the deal. And this month, during the third reading, which was, 2 weeks ago now, the government declined all the amendments demanding transparency in how this all came about. 320 Labour MPs voted for it. They didn't sit in the debate to understand it, and they pushed it all through. That's £47 billion of your money, of my money, the taxpayers' money. We'll never understand where this money is going to. And neither will those 320 MPs either who pushed it through as well. They don't even care about this. So what's going on in the US? So the two cleanest people on the news agenda right now,
myself, of course,
Robert Mandelson and Jonathan Powell, they've been pushing this through in the US, in the White House, this whole time. So the whole thing absolutely stinks, and I think that tells you everything you need to know, Alex.
Interesting, because there was reports about plots of land, other islands in Chagos being sold off potentially to adversaries like China. Now that has been dubbed as absolute nonsense. I believe that is according to Foreign Office Minister Stephen Doherty. What do you make of that?
Look, I asked the Mauritian government as well. I've been in touch with the advisors there. They have obviously denied it. But would they deny it? I mean, would they say yes to it? you know, if there's a legal thing going on with the UK, they're going to wait a few years, I think. They're definitely going to come up with this.
Because Nigel Farage has also come out very strong and said, actually, do you know what? If we get into government, we are not going to honour this deal. Is that possible? Can they turn around? Can the future UK government say, we are scrapping it?
The problem is that once we've given away that territory, it's going to be very difficult to get that back because we've given it away. So if we stop the payments, that means they could say, we'll get off our islands then. We would have to get rid of Diego Garcia, would have to take away our military assets there, would have to abandon it, basically. So this cannot go through. Now, we're doing several things to try and prevent this right now. We have got a court case on Tuesday at 2 p.m. in High Court. That's a Chagosian base. They're trying to get a referendum. They're trying to get their rights heard. But also, we're dependent on the Lords as well. So there's the Lords debate. The second reading is on the 4th of November. Now, the government is currently outnumbered in the Lords, so we're hoping to lobby in the opposition, the crossbenchers, to get them on side to vote against it. But this is the last chance now.
Right, listen, Robert, good luck. I wish you all the success. I think this is a massive scandal that is going to not just see through this Parliament, but through to the next Parliament and the Parliament after that and Parliament after that, unless we do something now. Of course, the government would refute all of the claims that Robert's made. I'm sure they would. But we will keep you pressed and up to date on any more news. And I'm sure, Robert, you'll be back to tell us more. Thank you very much for joining me, Robert Midgley there. Coming up, what's President Trump doing here?
Going back to Honolulu just to get that Maui Wowie.
Now, I'm going to bring you that full clip next, but first, the front pages have dropped hot off the press. We'll bring them to you. The Guardian are saying NHS will need an extra £3 billion. How much more is it going to need to avoid rationing care? Reeves has been warned. This is Alex Armstrong tonight. We'll see you with some breaking news shortly.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. We've got showers and longer spells of rain across western parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Further east, some warm sunshine. We can see Madeira seeing some showery outbreaks of rain for the next few days. Temperatures in the low 20s. The risk of a few showers for southern Spain and Portugal. But in the sunshine, temperatures above average. Plenty of dry weather across Italy and Greece at the moment. Temperatures 25, 26 Celsius. So feeling warm in that sunshine, and it stays pretty settled the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We've got an unsettled week of weather in store across the UK, all of us seeing rain at times, often quite blustery, although it will turn a bit milder towards the end of the week and certainly into next weekend. At the moment, we've got low pressure feeding its way southeastwards across the UK, tightly packed isobars, indicating quite blustery weather too, and certainly as we head into the evening and through the overnight period, quite a blustery feel to the weather across the UK. Outbreaks of rain gradually clearing from the south and southwest, leaving some clear spells in the south, whereas it's very showery across northern and central parts and blustery winds, even a little bit of winteriness across the high ground in Scotland, and temperatures low enough here for a touch of frost in some rural spots, but staying mostly frost-free towards the south with temperatures near double figures in some towns and cities. So we start the new working week on quite a showery note, certainly across the north of Scotland, lots of showers packing in on that northerly breeze. Still a bit wintry, those showers across the highest ground in Scotland, a touch of frost to say in rural spots to start the day. Mostly fine across the southern parts of Scotland, a few showers across Northern Ireland, and a few showers too pushing across Northern England, North Wales into the Midlands, with some sunshine to start the day on Monday across the far south of England. As we go through the rest of the day, it stays quite showery in the morning, quite a blustery northerly breeze too. The showers and those winds gradually ease though from the west as we go into the afternoon, and then some more persistent rain starts to approach Northern Ireland by the very end of the day. Once again, it's quite chilly for the time of year, certainly across the north and northeast of the UK. Here temperatures no better than 7 or 8 Celsius in a few spots, whereas down towards the south and southwest, nearer average at around 13 or 14 degrees. Outbreaks of rain out towards the west will push eastwards into Tuesday morning, and Tuesday looks like a very breezy day with further showers or longer spells of rain, so staying quite unsettled and again quite chilly for the time of year, with temperatures into the low teens at the very best. That's into the low to mid 50s in Fahrenheit. Low pressure is dominant for the rest of the week, so it stays pretty unsettled. Further showers or longer spells of rain to come, but at least those temperatures start to climb during the latter stages of the week.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, I'm going to bring you tomorrow's front pages. Shall we go through them together? The Metro, worried Wes. Voters are in despair. The Guardian. NHS needs extra £3 billion to avoid rationing care. Reeves is warned. The Daily Telegraph. Billions wasted in migrant hotel chaos. The Independent. On the front line with Zelensky's killer drone units. The Express. Tax rises will result in higher food prices. Surprise, surprise. The iPaper. Number 10 in talks to water down day one workers' rights amid new growth warnings. Oh, I don't dig into that in a second. Sun. To Pads Andy. And leading the GBnews.com coverage tonight. Teenage victim of Epping sex attacker, should I say, feared seeing him again after accidental release. And also NHS accused of class prejudice after refusing to treat 8-year-old private schoolboy. Well, I've got my panel here, Adam Brooks, Ellie Wheatley and Bill Rammell. We're going to go through these headlines together. I kind of would like to actually start with a little bit of course, Hadush Kabati, because he was caught today. We've got that GB News front page story as well. Adam, you've got an interesting story on this, haven't you? Could you tell us?
Well, the police didn't tell the family or the father that he was on the run. It was a message from me at about 4 o'clock, half 4.
Just to be clear, the victim of...
The victim, yeah. So there was a 14-year-old girl sexually assaulted in Epping by a Kabatu. The father did not find out the man was on the loose until I contacted him about 4 or 4:30. That is disgusting. So he was then digging around online and ringing around, and then he see the Sun exclusive as well. That is just astonishing. That, you know, that man could have been back in Epping for all we knew, or for all the family knew. And that young lady, you know, she might have come face to face with her attacker. The police have got a lot of questions to answer on that.
Yeah, it's Ellie, because I mean, listen, I don't want to speculate too much because, you know, we'll verify that. Adam will give us some sources on that one and verify it, but we'll go into that again soon. But this whole story is a real shambles. And David Lammy, he's only just taken over as Justice Secretary. He's got a huge job, really massive portfolio, considering the state of our prison services. And I do point the finger at the Tories for the way they left the prison system was an absolute chaos. But...
Yeah, another part of that story was that, according to a delivery driver who was at the prison, Kabati was waiting around for 90 minutes going, where do I go? What do I do? He knew he was supposed to be deported. Eventually, the officer said, oh, get on a train to London, mate, and here's 90 quid or whatever it was to get there. Absolutely unbelievable, like shocking failure. And it's interesting, actually, because there's been some Labour briefings against Shabana Mahmood, who was the Justice Secretary before David Lammy, going, what, sort of state did she leave this department in? So there's some internal blame game going on, as well as, blaming the Tories, fine. But actually, Labour has been in government for a really long time now. They have been releasing criminals early, before they've served their full sentences. So it's absolutely shocking, and someone needs to be held accountable for this.
Because, Bill, the reality is that basically, if you exclude weekends, there's 5 people accidentally released every day of the week if you exclude Saturdays and Sundays. That's shambolic, isn't it?
Oh, this is a shocking case. It never should have happened. There needs to be the investigation. To me, and, the briefed explanation is that, it was the wrong paperwork by an official. But what beggars belief for me is this has been such a high-profile case. It's been on the front page of virtually every newspaper that and he was interacting with prison officers saying, where do I go? That no one said, hold on a minute, this guy shouldn't be being released. That's unacceptable. But I tell you what, I read over the weekend, there was an audit report on Chelmsford Prison about a year ago, and it talked about lack of resources, it talked about untrained staff, and that is the inheritance from the last government, but we've got to tackle it.
Yeah, no, I think they do, of course, share adequate blame on this. Let's go, because the Daily Express here kindly have a picture of Hadush Kabatu up there anyway, but it also brings us on to our next story, doesn't it? Tax rises will result in higher food prices. I actually was speaking about this months ago because we're looking at inflation. Inflation is stuck. It is not going down. And there is a very big concern, and why you should be worried about this, is that food prices are a huge driver of inflation. Now, tax rises have been on the front page. As you know, I'm here 9 days a week, aren't I? I've read different tax initiatives that the Chancellor might be digging into day after day. Adam, I mean, we've got income tax, we've got mansion taxes, we've got wealth taxes, we've got these special levies they might be putting. Where does it end? Do you think the Chancellor is completely headless?
Let's remember, I sell food and drink in my pub.
Of course you do.
So food and drink prices have been going up for a multitude of different reasons. But let me tell you now, Rachel Reeves' first budget with the national insurance contributions, they took away the rates relief as well for pubs and restaurants in the high road. We all had to put our prices up to cover that budget. Now, this is going to be the same yet again, Alex. So it's their own actions that are causing this food inflation and drink inflation. And we're just going to keep going up. And the people that suffer the most, the hard-working builder that wants to go and have a pint in my pub, suddenly he's got to pay another 30 or 40p after the next budget because of Labour and because of Rachel Reeves. It's disgusting.
Totally agree. And now that she's rolling the pitch to break her tax promises that they made in the Labour manifesto, basic rate on income tax to be raised, etc. And it spooks the markets, even if it doesn't happen, which, sometimes they fly the kite on the see what the reaction is, which always bad, right? That doesn't help because that spooks the market in turn. And, growth is not going up. Inflation's on the rise, and ordinary people are feeling it, and they're not feeling the growth in their pocket that the Labour government keep bizarrely wanting to refer to. So of course, there's just absolute discontent in this country, and I'm not surprised.
Bill.
Well, I mean, I'm the first to acknowledge there is some kite flying by the Treasury, but actually this story is lobbying by the supermarkets who don't want a tax increase, and that's part of what's coming into the mix as well. The reality is that there's a challenging international environment. The OBR, and I think the OBR has got too much power now and is influencing unreasonably budget decision-making, but the OBR has downgraded productivity because of Brexit. And there is a fiscal challenge. And the issue is that people want more investment in public services, and the government's got to manage that. Now, I think, the breaking of manifesto commitments on taxation will not happen, whatever the speculation, but there will have to be some tax increases somewhere. I think the ISA allowance, I think capital gains tax, I think maybe council tax rebanding, which hasn't happened since the early 1990s.
Well, listen, Bill, I think you've done a very good job of defending the government's position. I think blaming Brexit is a complete cop-out, if I'm being honest with you, mate. But, fair enough, that's your opinion.
That's your opinion. So the OBR has downgraded our productivity, which has hit the finances, and they've done it because of Brexit.
They're always wrong, the OBR, as well. No
they are. They've been wrong so often, but also to blame Brexit at this point on, I just think, we have been saving all that money that we're not paying the EU, for example. Where's that all gone? I just think, anyway, look, I want to show you something a bit funny. Have a look at this.
Going back to Honolulu just to get that Maui Wowie, that Maui Wowie. Going back to Honolulu just to get that Maui Wowie, that Maui Wowie.
My mind just immediately goes, Can you imagine Keir Starmer doing that? Like, that's literally only Donald Trump could get away with doing a little dance like that, couldn't he? Everyone else, they were just like absolutely.
He's got quite a nice singing voice as well.
I don't know if that was him, Bill, actually. I'm just to clarify, I don't think that was his singing voice. Anyway, look, we've got loads more coming up in a very, very short period of time. A GB News exclusive: Britain's green belt crisis is exposed as more than 50 sites across London by guess who? Your favourite politician, Sadiq Khan. Well, they could be very much under threat because it's very much about the money. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Daily Mail are going on a headline, woke guidance to tackle absenteeism, and stop asking pupils questions, it makes them anxious. Now, of course it makes you anxious.
It's your job.
Yeah, so I mean, I get what they're going, and it's very easy to go with the popular view here. But I think they're not saying all pupils. They're asking to take into account that there may be, in certain sets of the classes, neurodivergent people, autistic, for whom it does make it up. So I do work with children who've been in care, and sometimes I've got people in the room who are autistic, and because I'm energetic and stuff, I've got to be very careful how I approach them. So sometimes, if I'm asking a question, I won't even look.
But Chris, I don't think that you can break up. You can sit and say, well, we've got Dawn, better not ask her that. Chris, I can't ask her this. And whatever. You know, you can't keep differentiating and cutting things up like that. I think you have to relook at what teachers are expected to do.
I think if we're preparing children for the outside world, we have to be tougher with them than we are. Now, you can't wrap them up in cotton wool. The world does not revolve around them. They have to toughen up, sorry.
And you will be asked questions in life.
Yeah, no, it's true. So are you saying then exclude them from the classroom so that you can concentrate on the main body?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. I mean, okay. That might be a solution. Well, so you go back to having schools that cater for.
You see, when people say questions make you anxious. Yes, I was anxious.
Yeah. We all are. I was anxious. I was anxious when I went to the track, and I was a World Cup athlete. I was still anxious when you go to the final. Yeah, we get that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to GB News. We're doing a paper review here, guys. Let's go back to the front pages, because the front page of the Times and on the front page of many other papers, actually, billions lost to flawed hotel deals for migrants, as if the taxpayer isn't being slapped in the face enough. Now we're finding out that basically the Home Office, which you might have already guessed, is completely incompetent and has spaffed billions more pounds on hotels for migrants. As the bombshell report reveals, incompetent Home Office staff let private firms make excessive profits from the small boat crisis. Oh, I mean, Adam, like, you know, the Home Office, I mean, we had that bombshell report out, didn't we, that said that was started by Nick Timothy, the previous government. Shabana Mahmood sort of wrapped it up and said, yeah, it's not fit for purpose. The Home Office is clearly incompetent. And how long, I mean, how much more can the taxpayer take of competence at the Home Office?
I don't know of another country that, apart from maybe Ireland, that is putting these illegal immigrants up in hotels and giving them all the perks, Greece are giving them tents and deporting them. At the end of the day, the British public is not just furious about the billions wasted on these, because let's remember, we can't afford to give pensioners enough money to heat their homes, and it's going to get very cold soon. So people are furious that their own money is going towards these. But the crime that is emanating from these hotels is ripping communities apart. And people have woken up to this now. You know, it's every day we see a rape, a sexual assault, or a sex crime by one of these so-called asylum seekers. This country, I mean, this could bring down the government, you know, and I know it's a lot of this is down to the Conservatives, but if things get worse, this could bring down this government.
Yeah, Ellie, again here, there was manifest failure by the Home Office to get a grip on contracts with private companies. It appointed to house asylum seekers. They have concluded.
Yeah,
I mean,
it doesn't surprise me at all. The civil service are just totally, it's totally incompetent. They missed an opportunity to renegotiate the contracts, right? So these companies were able to basically increase their profits sixfold at the taxpayers' expense. And it's no wonder that we see people on the streets protesting against this particular crisis, because, as you say, when ordinary people can't afford to pay for that extra pint or, you know, heat their homes, etc., and it's going on this, and it's down to incompetence in the Home Office.
yeah, Bill, I mean, it's... A week goes by where there is not some sort of illegal migrant chaos in this country. And again, I say it till my guy red in the face. I do blame the last government for letting this get so out of control for so long. But Labour did pledge in their general election campaign to get on top of this, to shut these hotels down. Now they're figuring out it's not as easy as that. They said they're going to put them in camps, in ex-military camps. That's not going very quickly. The deportation still is not very good. Is anyone going to get on top of this?
Well, you know, this report is shocking. It does cover the period the Tories were in power, and they did allow the costs to escalate. Actually, the cost since Labour have been in power for the use of hotels has come down because they've renegotiated some of the contracts. But look, this is dependent on actually reducing migrant numbers. You know, we've already seen a significant reduction in net migration across the board, but the illegal migration is what is concerning people. And I think the building blocks are there with deals with other countries, with a whole raft of other measures, but they need to start impacting to pull the numbers down. Yeah. And, you know, the government is committed to ending hotels by the end of this Parliament. Yeah. We need to deliver on that.
OK, we'll have to leave it there because we've got loads more to bring you at 11 o'clock. Number 10 apparently watering down more of their policies. It's in chaos, isn't it? I will see you in just a tick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We've got an unsettled week of weather in store across the UK, all of us seeing rain at times, often quite blustery, although it will turn a bit milder towards the end of the week and certainly into next weekend. At the moment, we've got low pressure feeding its way southeastwards across the UK, tightly packed isobars, indicating quite blustery weather too, and certainly as we head into the evening and through the overnight period, quite a blustery feel to the weather across the UK. Outbreaks of rain gradually clearing from the south and southwest, leaving some clear spells in the south, whereas it's very showery across northern and central parts and blustery winds, even a little bit of winteriness across the high ground in Scotland, and temperatures low enough here for a touch of frost in some rural spots, but staying mostly frost-free towards the south with temperatures near double figures in some towns and cities. So we start the new working week on quite a showery note, certainly across the north of Scotland, lots of showers packing in on that northerly breeze. Still a bit wintry though, showers across the highest ground in Scotland, a touch of frost, as I say, in rural spots to start the day. Mostly fine across the southern parts of Scotland, a few showers across Northern Ireland, and a few showers too pushing across Northern England, North Wales into the Midlands, with some sunshine to start the day on Monday across the far south of England. As we go through the rest of the day, it stays quite showery in the morning, quite a blustery northerly breeze too. The showers and those winds gradually ease though from the west as we go into the afternoon, and then some more persistent rain starts to approach Northern Ireland by the very end of the day. Once again, it's quite chilly for the time of year, certainly across the north and northeast of the UK. Here temperatures no better than 7 or 8 Celsius in a few spots, whereas down towards the south and southwest, nearer average at around 13 or 14 degrees. Outbreaks of rain out towards the west will push eastwards into Tuesday morning, and Tuesday looks like a very breezy day with further showers or longer spells of rain, so staying quite unsettled and again quite chilly for the time of year, with temperatures into the low teens at the very best. That's into the low to mid 50s in Fahrenheit. Low pressure is dominant for the rest of the week, so it stays pretty unsettled. Further showers or longer spells of rain to come, but at least those temperatures start to climb during the latter stages of the week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, billions of your pounds have been wasted on asylum, illegal migrant hotels. Trust me, it's way worse than you think. The Home Office is completely incompetent, isn't it? Wes Streeting, well, the pennies dropped for him that voters just don't like Labour, and with margins as thin as his in his seat, well, I would be worried too. Of course, there's more policy chaos in Downing Street as they might be watering down some more bills to try and please the public. Anna, you're going to be taxed more. So much more coming up very shortly.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 11 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. Breaking tonight.
Not going to increase the taxes that working people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT.
Is Chancellor Rachel Reeves about to break her pledge? Well, the Express leads with tax rises will result in higher food prices, and
there's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
OK, Andrew. Well, The Sun have said this. Royal World exclusive. Prince Andrew is demanding both William and Harry's ex-homes to quit his royal lodge and...
They sit in hotels and digs for months on end at the taxpayers' expense.
Now, the Daily Mail is claiming that billions have been wasted on hotels for migrants. Can the taxpayer stand any more slaps in the face? Also... Yes, Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau have made it official. Breaking news, there we do. It's a lot on this show, isn't it? And also, tonight on a GB News exclusive here, it belongs to us. China pressures Keir Starmer to support the invasion of Taiwan in what I think is a major war warning for World War III. And I'll be telling you why these spooky sausage dogs weren't allowed to their party this Sunday. Well, I always tell you anything can happen on this show, and it definitely will tonight. Joining me this evening, comedian Adam Kumis, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. But before we get dug into spooky sausage dogs, let's get your headline news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Alex. Good evening to you. 2 minutes past 11. Our headlines. The Justice Secretary, David Lammy, says a convicted sex offender who's been arrested following his accidental release from prison on Friday will be deported this week. Hadesh Kabatu was apprehended in the Finsbury Park area of North London this morning after a 2-day manhunt when members of the public alerted officers to his whereabouts. He was jailed last month for assaulting a woman and a 14-year-old girl while being housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping. David Lammy says a member of staff at HMP Chelmsford's been suspended and has insisted the government is addressing the issues in prisons.
We will be increasing our funding to probation. We will ensure that there are more prison places, 14,000 extra prison places over this next period. We have to continue to support our prison officers at this time, particularly against violent offenders in our prison. I will be making a full statement to Parliament tomorrow, and then of course we've got a sentencing bill going through Parliament which will also support the system and make the system stronger.
Suspects have been arrested over the robbery of crown jewels from the Louvre Museum last Sunday. The men, both in their 30s, were identified by traces of DNA found at the museum, although the stolen jewellery has not yet been recovered. They're believed to have been part of a gang who broke into the Apollo Gallery and made off with items worth around £76 million. One of the two was apprehended waiting to board a flight from Charles de Gaulle Airport. A woman in Walsall has been raped in what police have called a racially aggravated attack. Officers were called to the Park Hall area of the town just after 7:15 last night, saying the woman in her 20s was assaulted at a nearby property by a man she didn't know. They've released this CCTV footage of the suspect, describing him as white, aged in his 30s, with short hair and wearing dark clothing at the time. They're appealing to the public for help. The US and China have agreed a framework of a trade deal ahead of a meeting between the countries' leaders later this week. The apparent progress comes during the first leg of President Trump's tour of Asia, where he oversaw the signing of a peace declaration and was greeted with some fanfare in Kuala Lumpur. It appears to stave off the threat of an ongoing trade war and may ease the diplomatic tensions ahead of this week's meeting between Donald Trump and the Chinese leader, Xi Jinping. The US Trade Secretary Scott Bessent says tariffs are off the table and the agreement includes a final deal on TikTok's US operations. Hurricane Melissa has been strengthened to a Category 4 hurricane. Forecasters say it may get even stronger as it hits parts of the Caribbean. It's reached Haiti and the Dominican Republic, killing 4 people. And people in Jamaica, residents in Jamaica, being warned of potentially catastrophic flooding and landslides. It's expected to reach the island late on Monday or early on Tuesday morning, with winds of up to 115 miles an hour and torrential rain. Authorities warning of a threat to life. They're urging residents to batten down the hatches. Finally, a boy who was thrown from the 10th floor of the Tate Modern Art Gallery in London can now run, jump and swim. The French youngster, who was 6 at the time, suffered life-changing injuries when he was thrown from a viewing platform by Johnny Bravery, who's serving a minimum 15-year jail term for attempted murder. The boy's parents say their little knight has now achieved his physical goal of doing a number of activities unaided over limited distance before his next operation. Those are your headlines. Now, it's back to Alex.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, should we run through your front pages together? Because we've got them here hot off the press. The Metro, well, the penny's dropped for Wes Streeting because he says voters are in despair. Welcome to our world, Wes. Well, I really want to dig into that because I think there's a little bit more than meets the eye there. The Guardian. The NHS needs an extra $3 billion to avoid rationing care. What a crisis that's in. So as Rachel Reeves has warned. The Telegraph. Billions wasted in migrant hotel chaos. That is the story you'll see on many front pages tonight. The Independent. On the front line with Zelensky's killer drone units. The Express. Tax rises will result in higher food prices. And the Eye. Number 10 in talks to water down day one workers' rights amid new growth warnings. Warring in number 10, isn't it? The Sun. To Pads Andy, they're calling this a royal exclusive. Apparently, Prince Andrew is demanding he gets 2 homes, one for him and one for Fergie. We'll talk about that too. The Times. Billions lost to flawed hotels deal for migrants. The Mail, billions wasted on hotels for migrants. Well, there you have it. Let's get the thoughts of my panel tonight. Comedian Adam Kumas, senior reporter Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley and former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Welcome, everybody. Adam, I'd love to start with you. I think we have to talk about the biggest story on 3 front pages, which is the billions wasted on asylum seeker illegal migrant hotels. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought government spending money could be wasteful, you know, in certain ways? I think this is a mixture, isn't it? I think it's shocking, but it's also I'm not surprised. I also think it's the idea of we all know this is something that shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be going on, and I think just the scale of the waste I think is quite scary, isn't it? When you look at these sort of like these long contracts and almost the tripling from 4.5 billion to 15.3 billion in some of these 10-year contracts, it's astonishing.
Yeah, this is of course on the front page of the Daily Mail, the Times, and the Telegraph. Yeah. The Daily Mail got a lovely big spread on it here. I just think, Ellie, it's like. I said this the other night on the show. I said, I'm actually getting really, really sick of hearing these stories because, as we're going to be asked, and we're definitely going to face more income tax. I know that's been floated, but some sort of tax rise in this country. We just know it's going to wasteful government.
Yeah, wasteful government. And also just this constant, there's so many stories, small boat crossings, surging. It's, now the total this year is surpassed last year's total, etc. But as the Border Security Chief was saying, the UK's Border Security Chief, he was saying what we've got to make sure is that our asylum system is not more attractive than other countries. And it clearly is, because they are coming from France on the boat and then to, obviously, these hotels and other asylum accommodations. What is that? Why are they coming here? It's because they are offered nice 4-star hotels, iPhones, even in some councils, particularly Labour-led councils, they're being offered 40% off line bike rides or golf lessons or saunas. And they see it on social media, but people obviously can see what goods that they will get when they come here, so that does not stop the demand. Yeah. And so we've got to tackle that issue as well as Home Office just incompetence.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about Home Office because I've thankfully got a former government minister on the panel tonight, Bill. Of course, you've been in government, so you must have seen, and I know you didn't work, I believe, in the Home Office at any point in time.
I had lots of interactions with them.
Yeah. Can you maybe give us an unbiased account of how it was working with them for you? Because as far as I'm aware, the Home Office has been in crisis forever.
Well, go back to 2003, and John Reid, when he was Home Secretary, said that the Home Office is not fit for purpose. And I think there is a real problem with the Home Office. I mean, I remember negotiating with Liam Byrne when he was Immigration Minister and I was Higher Education Minister. And the issue was about graduate students and their ability to work within the UK. And Liam and I had reached an agreement And the official in the Home Office was just shaking her head. And I thought, who's running this? You know, it's not your position to do that. And I think there are real concerns with the Home Office. This report is shocking. It's easy for me to say this covers the period when the Tories were in office, when the system completely got out of control, and the numbers and the cost has come down since Labour has been in power. But there is a real challenge here. I think the building blocks are in place to be able to pull illegal migration down. But by God, the numbers have got to start coming down over the next year. Because there is a real crisis of confidence about the ability of the state to manage this.
Bill, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think many British people will say the same thing. I think this is what lost the Tories, that landslide defeat, among other things. Of course, this was one of the biggest issues. I think Keir Starmer will be judged for not having talked tough before the election. I think he'll be, be judged on his record on this, and whoever's Labour's Prime Minister will also be judged on this. But I'd like to bring you another story, because I'm just going to read this right reply from the Home Office first, because the government is furious about the number of illegal migrants in the country and in hotels. That is why they say they will close every single asylum hotel, saving the taxpayer billions of pounds. They say we have already taken action, closing hotels, slashing asylum costs by nearly £1 billion, and exploring the use of military bases and disused properties. Right. I've got a very interesting story for you, because there is a inside story on GBNews, an exclusive we've got, which, of course, is all about China. It's called "It Belongs to Us" as one of our headline that we're running. And China is pressuring, supposedly, allegedly, Keir Starmer to back China in a war with Taiwan, which, of course, in my opinion, Ellie, would be World War III. You can see it here. This is, we'll read into the details in a little bit, but if there's any indication that this is happening, this would be really damaging, considering all the other China stuff. Oh, totally. Obviously, China invading Taiwan would be devastating for the global economy as well as other things. I mean, they produce 90% of tech chips in Taiwan, and among other things. So that'd be awful. But again, this is, well, what we call it at Guido Fawkes, the Golden Kira, where the Labour ministers have been cozying up to Beijing ever since they got into power. Obviously, we've had this Chinese alleged spy scandal that has just been shocking, and the number 10's line on it keeps changing and getting very complicated. Blaming the Tories for not designating China as a threat, but actually then in the witness statements, the civil servant included Labour manifesto policy, which was, of course, not under the Tories government. So, and the whole thing's absolutely shocking. And if, I don't think, to be fair, Starmer would kowtow to backing China if they were to invade Taiwan. I don't think he would, but it does show that the Chinese think, well, maybe they're our friends now, and we were able to sort of ask and pressure. Well, even if they're not friends, we're certainly easy enough that they feel we could do this. Because, Adam, I'm just going to read a little bit more of the article out here for the sake of the audience here, because the Chinese ambassador to the UK has warned Sir Keir Starmer he must back China's ownership of Taiwan or risk a diplomatic breakdown in relations. Zheng Zhugang, I hope I pronounced that correctly, said the future of relations between Westminster and Beijing relied on the UK government accepting that Taiwan has never been a country and that both sides of the Taiwan Strait belong to China. Of course, Adam, we've got that super embassy, which we don't know half the plans for, currently sitting in limbo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to sort of decide as a nation, I feel like, are we friendly with them or are we just business partners with them? And how much do we actually align with China? We can't seem to decide whether we're friends, we're enemies. We kind of, like you said, you brought up the spy scandal, but then suddenly there was also Ed Miliband was thinking about like maybe approving one of the largest wind farms in Europe, in Scotland, made by the Chinese. So it's like we need to really find out where do we stand principally, what are our morals, what are our ethics, and just be tough with them and sort of go, right, we're not going to do that, and just make up our mind. Yeah, because Bill, I mean, my big worry is that we are now becoming a lesser and unimportant nation, sadly, I think, in terms of military power and influence around the world. We've seen the influence that the Chinese government can wield economically
economically, it is a powerhouse. If it wants to stop all the Amazon deliveries tomorrow, I don't know how many Gen Zers will be backing China, frankly, because they won't be able to get their Amazon deliveries. So it's worrying, the power China has, and we sit sort of course, in the American Anglosphere as part of that. Do you think there's a case that as America's power weans over time, that China could have a greater role in our foreign affairs?
Well, China is going to have a greater role in world affairs. That's a reality, given what is happening. But, you know, the arguments about Taiwan that you quoted the Chinese ambassador, they are no different to the arguments the Chinese ambassador used to make to me as a Foreign Office Minister almost 20 years ago. That's consistently been the Chinese line. And there's no way, shape or form that this government will agree with China that it should take over Taiwan. I've got to be honest, my bigger worry is that Trump will cut a deal with China over Taiwan, given his very erratic approach to international decision-making. And I think, you know, picking up your point, Adam, the reality is, you know, both need to be tough on China, but you also need to have a relationship with them, because they are going to be the source of 50% of economic growth over the next 50 years. And the idea that we want no relationship with China is